So when we talk about a data warehouse is a combination of ETL process and the BI process. ETL plus BI together, it is called as a data warehouse, or you can call it as a DWBI, data warehouse business intelligence. So when we talk about the ETL testing process, most of the people will know about the ETL testing process. But in this course, we are going to show you the data warehousing testing, which means a combination of both. ETL testing will show you how to validate the data between your OLTP system and OLAP system. That is nothing but an ETL testing process. And BI testing is nothing but the validation of your reports which are being generated in the reporting tools. That is your BI tools. This is called as a BI testing, as an ETL testing. So what do you mean by testing process here? See, we understand we have a different tools which are used in the market to integrate the data into the Teradata or your warehouse, I mean to say. So when the developers use the ETL tools and integrate the data into the data warehouse, as a tester, what is our responsibility is that whatever is integrated from these tables in the OLTP system into the OLAP, is properly integrated or not. That you are going to validate with the help of an ETL testing. So ETL testing, what you have to make sure, whether the right data is being loaded into the data warehouse, or whether the quality data is loaded into the data warehouse, or all these will be with the help of an ETL testing. So to do an ETL testing process, do we have any tool which can help us to do that? Just like your load runner, win runner and all those? No. We do not have any automation tools which we can run. Which we do not have any popular ETL automation tools which we can run, and then it can generate the scripts and everything about the quality of data. No. So the complete ETL testing process will be carried out with the help of an SQL. So it's a manual testing process. So ETL testing is nothing but your complete manual testing process where you integrate the data from your you're going to test integrated data from different OLTP system into this, that is by using an SQL. So that's why SQL plays a very important role in the BI testing as well as a ETL testing. So in order to perform the ETL testing, one needs to understand the SQL process. So if you are good with SQL skills, then you can easily understand this. That's why when we start with this course, we will more emphasize on the SQL first before we step into this one. So for SQL, we will spend close to 8 to 10 hours we will spend on the SQL to understand what kind of complex SQL you have to write and all those things. It's basically the select statements, how to write a complex select statements, we will understand. And then we will understand about the data warehouse and the kind of tables used in the data warehouse, With this, we are going to again spend close to 2 hours of time in understanding all the processes and everything in this. So in any data warehousing project or any ETL project, there should be an ETL tool, then only we can actually start with an ETL testing. So when we talk about an ETL testing here, we need to understand about the tool here. So the tool which we are going to understand in this process, see, when we go to the data warehouse, you can use any ETL tool. It can be Informatica, it can be a data stage, a Benicio or anything. So then we are going to understand the ETL testing process, how you have to test the ETL testing process with the help of Informatica Power Center. We are going to discuss this, how the ETL testing will be performed in Informatica Power Center projects and how you do it. That we are going to spend close to 15 hours of time in understanding all the Informatica processes and methodologies and doing this. And the next one, after an ETL testing, we are also going to understand about the BI testing process. BI testing is nothing but, see, you're reading the data from this warehouse and then representing the data in bar graphs, line graphs, and all those things. So whether the data is represented is as per the business requirement or not, that you're going to validate. That is called as a BI testing. So we are going to spend again 2 hours of time in understanding what is a BI testing, what kind of test cases we write in the BI testing. So how do you validate the data in the browsers and everything, that we'll understand for 2 hours. So in this, to understand the data warehousing process, we'll have an Informatica Power Center, and maybe 1 to 1.5 hours we'll spend on the OBIE to understand what is it about. So close to, it will take 30 hours, 30 to 33 hours it will take, and we'll also understand about some basic Unix commands, what is required when we start with it. So what are the different Unix commands that you require, that we will spend 1 class to understand what kind of Unix commands are there, and how do you connect to the Unix server using the different tools like PuTTY and everything. That also we will discuss as part of this. So this is more or less about the what we are going to discuss in the course. So this we will forward you the contents of the course, like what we are going to discuss and everything to you, and here how ETL testing will be performed. Suppose, let's say you have something called as a customer table here, and that customer table is being loaded as a into the warehouse in the form of a dim customer table. Let's say you have developed a program in Informatica Power Center, and wherein you are reading the data from your customer table in the OLTP system. So I hope you know what I mean by a table here. It's nothing but an object in the database. So you're reading the data from this table and then loading the data into a dim customer table, which is there. And now you need to test it in the sense like how you're going to test this process. It's basically, so how are you going to validate? Now we have a scenario wherein we have a customer table. The data is being integrated into the dim customer table in this, which you are going to use. So how do you validate the data? So ETL testing process will be implemented in the different steps. It's basically, so the first one is that you're going to validate the count of records between the source table and the target table. The source and the target. See, basically in order to identify the count of records between the source and target, so you're going to find out the count of records what is available in the source table. This is like a source table what you have, and dim customer is like your target table for a program. So source table is nothing but from where we are reading the data. Target table is nothing but to which you are loading the data into. So target table. So validating the count of records between the source and the target. So you're going to identify the number of records which are available in the customer table and the number of records available in the dim customer table, if both are matching or not. In order to execute the SQL, so we are also going to use another tool which we understand, that is called as a SQL developer tool, or we have other tools which we use, that is stored and everything. So validate the count of records between that. So you're going to identify the count in the source, count in the target, both are matching or not. And the second scenario is that, so suppose, let's say when your program is running every day and you have started integrating the data from your OLTP to this. Let's say because of your error in the ETL program, there are duplicate records which are being inserted. So how do you validate the duplicate records? So duplicate records, again, we'll write a separate query and we'll identify the duplicate records in the target table, whether it contains any duplicate records or not. That we are going to define the set of records, duplicate records which are available in the target table here. So this is one more test scenario which we'll handle. And similarly, when we talk about this one, the third one which we have is about the null validation. Suppose, let's say when we developed a program, because of some errors in the program, the data in most of the columns in the dim customer table is being loaded as a null because of the error in the program. Suppose let's say I have a columns like customer name and customer location. These columns, the data for these columns is present in your source table, but in your target table you have a null values. So you need to find out the records which are having a null values in the target, but the value present in the source. Validating the data in columns, that we see. So how do you find out, or how do you validate the data in the columns? That is by using a minus query in the SQL. Let's say, let's take an example. In the customer table, in the dim customer table, I have a customer name which is something like Sachin Tendulkar, and in my, when I've loaded the data into my program, I mean like it's, for some reason it has loaded as something like this, SACH, and all the other data is actually truncated and then loaded. So if you see, the data present in the, for a customer name in the source is different, and the data, I mean column value present in the target is different, which means there is something wrong with the program. So this kind of validation also we will do that by using a ETL testing. So we have a various test scenarios, I mean various types of testing which we follow in doing it. Broadly, ETL testing process is divided into 3 types. So you're going to perform a smoke testing, when the smoke testing to identify whether the objects are present or not, and all those things, that you do it. And the next one is your functional testing, so which you have. And also we will also do the smoke testing, functional testing, and you will do the system testing. It's nothing but an integration testing kind of a thing when you integrate the data. And we will also do the performance testing. This is also a manual process, not with any automation tools. So the testing process is classified into this many types. So we will do one by, I mean each type of a testing, how we do it with the different examples and the real-time case study. So we'll take a real-time project and we will start understanding about all these tools in this process. So this is how we will validate the data, I mean using the different types of testing in using it. And even the BI testing also, we will perform the similar type of testing like a smoke testing, and then the UI testing, user interface testing, to understand whether it is working or not. So all those things we will determine in the BI testing process as well. So now, in order to, I mean, along with this, we will also provide you the required material for you in the ETL testing process. How do you prepare the test plan? How do you prepare the test strategy and ETL testing strategy basically? And what are the different test cases that we write, and what are the technical design documents, and we will help you with the installation of Oracle database and everything. So these are all the different materials what we have, and we are also going to discuss about the complete case study and then its test cases. So if you open, let me show you the different types of test cases what we have here, and in doing the functional testing, smoke testing and all those. So this is your smoke test cases and functional test cases, system test cases, performance, regression test cases. All those things we will do it one by one example. We are going to show you the live demonstration of Informatica, how to monitor the jobs and how to identify the errors in the ETL jobs, and how do you understand the errors, how to raise the different things, all those processes. So in this ETL testing process, we are not going to cover the manual testing things like how you raise the defect, how you close the defect and all those things. Simple things will not be discussed about how to software testing life cycle and the types of testing and all those things. We will directly jump into the ETL testing process in order to understand much about it. So that is a, more about the ETL testing process what we are going to do. So it's completely a SQL processes, SQL details and everything. So this is how we understand the ETL testing process. So now if you have any questions, you can go ahead one by one. So that's it I have for a presentation, and if you have any questions you can go ahead. I'll try to answer one by one. why is the BI is not part of a practice? Well, it's a part of a data warehousing practice, but generally BI testing is more like a user interface testing, or if you test the web application, it is more like a web application testing only, or your enterprise application testing. So it is part of the process, but the people, most of the people understand only the ETL is a process in the data warehouse, not the BI. There is no point of building the warehouse without without the BI process. We will not be doing in the detail in the sense that is like more like a manual testing process. When you see this, when you go to the OBIE and all, there are things which you have to understand in the OBIE is just how the data will be validated and all those things. But you don't need a complete detailed knowledge, because all you can access that OBIE tool with the help of a browser and then compare the data. We are going to show you how the data can be accessed and how it can be used. And 2 hours of knowledge is much enough to answer the questions on the OBIE to do that. To understand about the BI process. Thank you.